sector economy. So it does work, but when it comes to our country, our own country, we think we need to borrow trillions of dollars and start new, unproven, untested programs and expect a different result than we saw in the 1930s or the 1990s in Japan. It's just, to me, it's a 10-year recovery plan. Within 10 years, we'll figure out what we're doing wrong and finally get the economy back on track. We could be on a 10-month plan. The way you do that, you provide opportunity for new ideas to get in the marketplace. Reform regulations on a cost-based analysis, review the ones that we have existing today. If they make sense, continue to do them. If they don't make sense, quit doing them. Okay. We need to welcome capital back into America, welcome capital into our economy. Right now, if you're an American corporation, an American company, and you've made money overseas, they penalize you for bringing it back and investing it in America. Doesn't make any sense. We need to have, I think, tax reform as well. There's some good micro models of what not to do with taxes. A good example is Maryland. In Maryland, 2 years ago, they had $1 billion shortfall, and they had a very simple solution. We will tax the millionaires. Have you ever heard that before? Tax the millionaires. It's only 6% that shouldn't complain. 6.25% actually. I remember reading that in the Washington Post. Well, so they taxed the millionaires. They had a little over 3,000 people who had filed returns the previous year of $1 million and more. Last year, they had the results of their new tax on the millionaires, and instead of getting another $106 billion more in revenue, or $1 million more in revenue, they had a reduction of $100 million. So a $200 million swing in the wrong direction for the state of Maryland. So they went out to ask these new millionaires, what's going on here? How come you're not, how come we didn't have an increase in revenue? Well, of the 3,000 that they originally had, they could only find 2,000. More than 1,000 of them voted with their feet. They went to another state. That's what's happening with jobs in America. They're going to another country. And why? It's because our tax system is punitive. So we have to reform our tax system. We ought to be energy independent. We could have lower cost energy if we would do that. And we ought to expand our trade. There's a few other things that I pressed forward with the Economic Competitiveness Caucus. I've got 75 other members of Congress to join with me, and we're pushing for those policies. It's low cost, it grows the economy, and there's a natural benefit to growing the economy. Natural benefit for the federal government. When the economy grows, the federal revenue grows. In 4 years of my tenure in Congress, we balanced the budget and paid down the national debt. The way we did it was we limited the growth of the federal government, reduced taxes so that we could get money circulated in the economy, and we reformed regulations. That lesson was lost. It was lost after September 11, 2001, and with this new administration, it's not even on the agenda. So we're trying to press forward. But what you can do as an individual, be sure you're registered and vote. Be sure your family's registered and vote. I'm a Republican because I believe in individual liberty and individual responsibility. I take it upon myself to talk to others about this. I hope you would do the same thing. Be a Republican at heart, even if you're not registered as a Republican. Talk to others because you have a strong circle of influence. It's bigger than you realize. The people you shop with, the people you work with, your family, your friends, the people you go to church with, they all listen to you. So talk about these important things and be sure to get them registered and out to vote. That's how we'll change the country. Question?
I appreciate the opportunity to get you here to speak again. In regards to health care bill, it appears that we're probably not going to get out of this without some type of quote-unquote reform. The thing that I would be most concerned about is the existence of a public option. I see that if the public option has access to the Treasury, that to me would be a disingenuous move towards some type of single-payer system. With the reemergence of the blue dogs and political force, what do you think the likelihood is we'll avoid a public option?
Well, I don't think that I think after the town hall series, if the Democrats are experiencing anything like I'm experiencing, they have to be nervous. So I think there may be some hesitancy on the public option plan. But they did pass one out of committee in the House, and we're supposed to vote on it in September. A public option plan supposedly is about 44% of the cost of the private health insurance plan. So there will be a financial incentive for employers to force their employees into this public option plan. They can avoid a penalty tax, and they can also get avoid the cost. If you think about it, if a small businessman has 10 employees and he's paying $600 a month per employee, you know, that's $60,000 a year that he could push off onto the government, and then he could show a better profit line. So that's the incentive that would be put in place under the public option. But if you look at healthcare today, 60% of it is paid for by private health insurance, 40% of it is public funded. I've talked to over 100 physicians, I've been to more than a dozen hospitals, I've talked to more clinics than that. In every case, they take money from the private insurance to cover the shortfall in the payment in the public health insurance plan. Like Medicaid, in some cases, they only pay 25% of the cost of the procedure. As an average, is somewhere between 50 and 75%, depending on whether it's a hospital, a clinic, or a physician, and depending on whether it's Medicaid or Medicare, but it's always, always underfunded. So if you shrink this 60% by a public option plan down to where it's only 15% or 10% or 5%, and you expand the public option, and it's only going to be covering 44% of the cost of what private health insurance did, that can only lead to rationing. And when you lead to rationing, then you lose choices, a lot of choices as a patient. In here, there are other disincentives. In here, there's going to be a panel set up to determine what each and every doctor in America makes. And they'll all make the same regardless of their specialty. In here, there's access to your financial records. There's access to your checking account. In here, there's end-of-life counseling. In here, there is an army of auditors that will go out to every business in America and compare their health insurance plan to some unknown standard. And so they'll be harassed by doing that. And people don't know what those standards are yet because they haven't been written. And even though this is 1,017 pages, there's probably going to be 10,000 pages of regulations that govern it, or that administer this. So we're just beginning to see all the difficulty that will go along with this. I think when that comes home to roost with the Blue Dogs and with other members of the Democrats, they'll be very hesitant to vote for this. But they passed card check out of the House. Card check is one of the most devastating things you can do to the economy. They passed the cap and trade bill out of the House. That's $1,000 per person tax. That's one of the most devastating things we can think of next to card check. And now they're considering this health care bill. I just think that the American public's kind of got up to here. That's why I saw 300 people in Derby and 130 people in Wilmington today. And probably I'll see another 300 or 150 people up in Newton later on. It's because people are finally getting fed up and they're deciding they want to speak out. And like the gentleman here says, what can we do? Well, they're finding out, and they'll go out and vote. And I think we're going to have a very good year in 2010. I'm trying to get rehired in 2010 for a little different job, but I hope you'll help me get there because I'm willing to fight to stop stuff like this and present a better alternative to spending money. And I'll give us the option to grow the economy from the ground up, not the government down. Right here, and I'll come back later.
Where do you stand on this fair tax plan?
The fair tax plan, I have read the bill. I was the original co-sponsor of the bill. I also read the book. John Linder, who's the sponsor of the bill, is a friend of mine. And I like it because it creates jobs in America. It's a big shift, and people would have to adopt to the shift because it does away with all the taxes that we currently pay. There'd be no deductions from your paycheck, so most people have a 33% increase on their paycheck. But when you buy something, you would pay about 25% as a federal tax. The real trick, though, is that when you take the cost of taxes out of our American products, they become very appealing internationally. You think about a Buick. Today we make Buicks in America, and we make Buicks in China. The reason they make Buicks in China is because they're too expensive to build here and ship over there. But if we could lower the cost, some think it would be as much as 22% of the cost of an automobile is embedded taxes. Taxes paid from the time they pull the ore out of the ground until it drives off the truck into the showroom floor. You lower the cost of an automobile by 22% and it becomes more appealing internationally. And just apply that to every product we make here in America. Taking the cost of taxes out of the price of that product makes us much more competitive. That's why I support it.